It's for sanitation issues, when owners have to pay those tickets at the end of the day, when it could be just a passerby that dropped a can from their building, or didn't pick up after their dog. But outside of all that, one of the issues that was on many people's minds here was local lighting, and just the challenges that it creates for folks that are trying to create affordability for themselves and their ownership by renting out one or two bedrooms in their homes to others. We understand that there's a need for permanent housing for everybody. Nobody wants to take that away from anybody. We should do that. We should build more, build. I understand that's the mantra, and I'm with you. Give me a hammer, I'll be out there with you wherever you'd like. But it's so hard to get approved. There's something like 4,000 applications. I know they're not just sitting. I know Christian Foster and that team is working very hard. But since March, there's been 800 applications reviewed, 237 approved of the tens of thousands of units that are previously listed on Airbnb and other sites. What can we do to accelerate that? What can we do to make it a closer partnership between those agencies and those of us that want to do the right thing, want to do the legal thing, want to protect our buildings from people that maybe a problem, but also pay for our buildings because the property taxes exist, the fines in the city exist, the maintenance costs exist, and local IT is making it very hard for us to keep affording our homes.
No, thank you for that. And we often your homeowners and the struggle in the foundation of home ownership. That is really the precursor to sleep that allows us to experience the American dream. My home helped me pay the tuition of my son. It really gave me the foundation that I needed. We met with a group of homeowners last week, Dina, Logan, and I, to talk about some of the parts of the local law. Now, what part is slowing in the pipeline? What part?
I talk to homeowners every day that are trying to do the right thing, trying to get legal, trying to do the application process. They're telling me that their applications are sitting in a queue for 4+ months.
Okay, Deanna, do you know anything about that?
And to be clear, my application is also sitting in a queue for some time as well, but not as long as ours.
Yeah, so good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Christian Klossner, who you referenced, is the director of the Office of Special Enforcement. They are in the process of registering. We do have a backlog. We are onboarding more people to help move that backlog. We saw a huge spike of people looking to register in May and June, even though this law was on the books as of last year, and folks kind of waited. And so we now have a bottleneck of applications that we're in the process of moving. Most individuals have at least heard from the Office of Special Enforcement. There are pieces of documentation that are missing, and we're getting them in as quickly as possible, and moving those registrations out as quickly as possible.
So tell me something. The registration process means that there are things they have to do to register to be placed in the system. Is that?
To be given the number that they will then give to whichever the platform is that they work with, to say that they have a legal occupancy for short-term rental.
And so if a person sends in an application, we go through it to see if they could be registered?
Correct.
And so there are things that we would come back and say, okay, you can't be registered.
Either you can't be registered, or you could be registered if you give us this lease that shows that you're allowed to do this in your apartment.
Okay, so listen, let me do this. Let me look at the process. Let me build out the flow chart to understand the process. And let me see if I have the power as mayor to do the presumption that you registered and you can get the number that you need. Let me see if I can do that. If it's a law, I can't. I follow law, but I make policy.
Understood, and I think the ask would be if there are things that can be done to accelerate it or to reduce the burden on the office there. The registration process started in March, and we're now September 6th. Right. That's not a small number of months. I know there was a large influx until then recently, but that's 10 applications a week, maybe 15 for an office with 13 people in it. It's just there's got to be something that's some red tape in the way that we could do to help them do their job better. And if I can come down there and volunteer and help review applications, I will do it.
I got you.
But right now we can't even get them to answer the phone. I've left probably 200 messages to that office. They don't answer.
Okay. I'm gonna have them give me a flow chart. I'm a former computer programmer. Everything I look through flow charts.
Same.
So I'm going to have them give me a flow chart, and we're going to see where the bottleneck. We have been amazing, particularly with First Deputy Mayor Wright. We have been amazing at looking at the processes and seeing why are we doing this? Why do we need this step in the process? The backlogs, the Deputy Mayor cleaned up with nonprofits. How much was it? $6 million nonprofits were not being paid. She went in and just expedited the system. And so let me look at what is the problem. And there may be steps in the process that there's no reason we're doing. And so I'm going to use the full leverage that I'm able to use to see how we can resolve this so you can register. We're trying to do the right thing. Give me a couple of days.
I appreciate that. One follow-up I'd add there is just, we could just get guidance on what we're supposed to do if we haven't heard back yet. So enforcement started yesterday, in theory.
Right.
According to the law, if I rent out my room, I get a fine, even though I'm waiting in a queue to get reviewed.
Right.
Nobody can tell me if I'm supposed to stop,
Great
if I'm supposed to
question.
continue. What do I do?
Great question. So, I gotta look at the full scope of what I'm allowed to do. And if we have a backlog, we should not be going out trying to hit you with a fine. So if I have the authority to say, hold up, let's clear this backlog. If we don't have our act together, we cannot be running to your house trying to give you a fine for something. So let me see what the scope of my authority, what it is, and then I'll get you this number and I'll cycle back to you tomorrow. So can we find out what leverage I have here? What can I do that's not in violation of the law, and so that I can figure out if we got to suspend going out doing enforcement until we clean up the backlog. If I have the authority to do that, I'm willing to do that. Okay.